Hey there, everybody. Thanks for tuning back in to another episode of Investor Insights. My name is Jason Gold, and I'm the CEO of Resurge. Let's get started today. We're talking about the importance of punching people in the face with your message. So let's get started. You know, in your personal life, subtlety goes a long way. There are nuances to the things that we do. Think about it. You can't always be super direct. Imagine if you went to a restaurant and you just said, "Give me steak." People would look at you like you're weird, right? But that's exactly what you have to do when you're competing for investors' attention. Think about it this way. You spend 50, 60, 70 hours a week focused on just your company. A good sell-side analyst might cover 30, 40, or even 50 stocks. I heard about one guy that covers 75. Buy-side analysts might cover 100 or 200 stocks, and their portfolio manager could be focused on 500 stocks. So subtlety kind of goes out the window. You have to punch people in the face with the message you want to deliver. So how do you do that? First, you also have to recognize that you're often talking to investors while the market is open. What does that mean for people? Have you ever seen a Bloomberg terminal? If you open up a Bloomberg terminal, there's millions of flashing lights. I used to talk about it as my own personal casino. It was like all of this crazy sounds and lights flickering and flashing and charts doing things and people are pinging you with instant messages and charts are moving all over the place. It's very difficult to focus while the market is open. So you need to remember that people are distracted by a million different things. They might even be texting their trader to execute certain trades. They might be talking to some of their investors who, if the market is down, they're worried about how the value of their money is doing. They might be focusing on a Fed rate decision. There's all this volatility today. Investors are all over the place. So getting them one-on-one to focus is difficult to begin with. Just empathize with that. That's the important point. While you're not really selling to them, because no one really likes it when a company is selling themselves to you from an IR perspective, what you are doing is selling yourself as you are competing for airtime. Investors need to decide that the story sounds good enough that they want to do some more work. You are competing against lots of other companies for investors' time in that very moment. If you are at a conference, you're competing for time to get people to listen to your presentation. 2, if you're at a conference, you're competing for time to get people to focus on you in a one-on-one. If you're reporting after hours, you can be sure, if you're reporting during the week after hours, that there's at least 10 or maybe even more companies reporting at the very same time of you, and people care about those companies too. So investors are bouncing from company to company, barely listening. They need to know the high-level summary. They'll sit down with their analyst team at the end of the night and say, okay, 20 companies in our portfolio reported tonight. What do I need to know? Or they'll sit down and they'll read the research notes. They need to be punched in the face with what was critically important. What do you need to do that? You need sound bites. You need headlines. Now, there's no politics here, but we had a president recently who was amazing at speaking in sound bites. Companies need to speak in sound bites too. It gets people to pay attention. What are the kinds of things that people like to hear in terms of sound bites? They like to hear new market, new product cycle, expanding margins, accelerating our path to profitability. There's a bunch of different headlines that get people to focus, and these are the kind of things that you need to take your story and boil it down into. Now, I'm decidedly not telling you to change your story. Your company is doing what it's doing, and you're executing however you're executing. But it's how you tell the story in a way that condenses the key points down into something that investors can focus on and tell and repeat to themselves and repeat to their bosses that you need to do. Remember, punch them in the face with what you want them to know. When it comes to those sound bites, I like to focus on no more than 3 things if you can. 5 is too many, 2 isn't enough. So what should they be? Number 1, what do you do? Number 2, why is it exciting? And number 3, why now? If you can answer those 3 things, it will allow people to tell your story over and over again in sound bite ways that get people to pay attention. Remember, punch them in the face. You know, it's not just when you're telling your story to investors that you need to really punch them in the face. It's when you're explaining the results of your quarter to them and the outlook that you can also punch them in the face. For example, let's say you had a bad quarter. Tell them why. Explain to them what happened and how you're going to fix it. Don't try to hide the salami. Don't try to pull a fast one over on anyone. Punch them in the face. Our results were below our expectations. Here's why it happened, and here's what we're doing to fix it. If you are beating your numbers, explain why. Did you get lucky? Or is this the fruits of the labors that you've been putting in for months and months and months, and it's finally coming to fruition? The market loves your new product. You're selling it at better prices than you thought. It's just going better than you expected. Tell them why in very simple language. What happens if you give kind of funky guidance? You take down one quarter but reiterate the year. Maybe next quarter has more expenses in it than you thought. Explain it to people. Punch them in the face and do it in the prepared remarks. I had a client recently whose EBITDA went down from Q1 to Q2 simply because expenses go up in Q2 because that's when they pay bonuses. I encourage them, go out of your way in the CFO guidance to punch them in the face, letting them know that in Q2 you pay cash bonuses and that's why the EBITDA goes down. Don't leave anything up for nuance and innuendo. People are distracted and need to be focused on the important things by you. It's your responsibility to do it. If you wonder though, Jason, how am I gonna punch people in the face with a very simple message? I kind of have a complicated story. There's all these different numbers. My answer is punch them in the face with a very simple story and provide a supplemental data sheet or slides in the back of your presentation that go into all the detail that the experienced investors are gonna want for their models that explain all the KPIs. But the reality is you should really only have a handful of KPIs that demonstrate the momentum of your business, and you should talk about them all the time. You can even make videos on the IR section of your website if you feel like you have different segments of the business that require further explanation, or maybe there's some funky accounting treatment for a subscription transition that you're going through. That's okay. Create slides, create animations, create videos. People will consume it. You don't need to spend the time that you have on the calls, which is very precious time, going through those details. So to summarize, the street is busy. They are distracted when the market is open. They've got a million things on their mind and they're focused on lots of other companies beyond just yours. Remember, you spend all day, every day on your company. Your best investor spends 1 to 2 hours a quarter on your company. So you have to simplify your story and punch them in the face with the most important aspects. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you here again next time on another episode of Investor Insights.